Welcome to Luminescence Common Sense Spirituality, a show designed to share spiritual insights with you so that you can comprehend the universe and how it functions. You are about to experience raised consciousness. This is a place where spiritual principles are shared with the goal of assisting you to expand your understanding of both the seen and unseen worlds. Luminescence Common Sense Spirituality helps you to discern the timeless truths handed down from wise sages through the ages, from the airy-fairy nonsense that is being taught today. Now, here is your host, Lynn Wyeth.
Welcome to Luminescence Common Sense Spirituality, the radio show that disseminates esoteric knowledge and common sense spirituality. I'm Lynn Wyeth, creator of Namology Science, the ability to know all about a person's personality and their soul's purpose simply from a person's name. Now, the beautiful music that we always start and end our program with, and the song The Shine, is by D. Lemore. It's D''Lemor, but with no apostrophe on her website, dlemore.com. And I just love the fact that we get to share her beautiful music every week. And Shine is also available on all streaming platforms. Now, our topic today is dreams. But before I do that, I just have one quickie announcement. And that is my old show on BBS Radio was at 4 p.m. California time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And today, the person who took over my slot is interviewing me on that particular time slot. So I will be on Executive Shine from Soul, S-O-L-E, to Soul, S-O-U-L-E, tonight at 4 o'clock Pacific time or 7 o'clock Mountain time on BBS Radio. And tomorrow on Nancy Yearout's High Road to Humanity show. And so I wanted to apologize too. I don't know what button I pushed wrong, but last week's email went out initially today in the newsletter, and all of this information is in the newsletter that I sent out about 2 hours ago when I realized the mistake. So I just wanted to apologize before we got started. Okay, now our topic today is dreams. Does everybody dream? We are addressing having dreams that you wish would come true and dreaming at night. Are they considered anything similar? What is actually happening when we dream at night? Are we blacking out? Are we traveling? Are we busy learning? What's going on? Can we direct our dreams to serve us better? What is the value of dreaming? Are dreams precognition or communication from other dimensions? And our special guest today is Pat Robertson Rice. Now, you guys all know that I have my absolute favorites that I have experienced a lot of different people's works over the years. I'm always curious on other people's gifts. I have spent a lot of money doing so over the years. And I have always picked the very smartest, best, most spiritually advanced, humble, incredible people to be our guests on this show. So it just pleases me greatly to have Pat Robertson Rice back again with us. And she offers spiritual counseling services that allow individuals to obtain the missing piece of information needed to come to terms with any issue being faced. She decides on a proper course of action for you and finally moves you forward in life. Helping others move through the most difficult times in their lives is her spiritual commitment. Now, help is just a phone call away for her, and she's written the book, Greatness Thrust Upon Us. And I had heard about Pat in 2007 when I was living in China, and I tell you guys this all the time, and I had a session with her. And the first part of her reading was absolutely phenomenal, and then I started to ask questions, and the questions were hard to believe, those answers. So I thought she was great at the first part that she provided prior to the answers, and then not so good at the answers to immediate questions. And then when I was leaving China, I re-listened to the recording, and every single answer that she had provided that I had found so hard to believe at just 9 months earlier, literally had come to pass during that 9 months. She is just incredible. She does stuff that I don't know how to do. You know, I mean, I look at it, we all have our gifts, we all have our talents, and Pat's are just incredible. In fact, I don't know anybody else that works like Pat works. And she's so reasonable in her costs. I'm going to be your commercial, Pat, because I just think everyone needs to have a session with Pat. I just think it's remarkable what you get out of a session with her. And so, and like I said, she works differently than anyone else I know. And she's just continued to be incredible. And I feel so fortunate that I called her in 2007. So welcome to Luminescence, Pat. Welcome back.
Goodness. Gosh, I'll have to send you $20 for that. That was very nice. I guess it's worth that. Anyway, thank you so much for having me on your show. Dreams are a fabulous topic, and they're always so interesting to talk about. But I'd like to also say thank you for having this show, Sharon, because the topics are fabulously interesting to listen to. And the fact that it's for free is almost, we don't have frees anymore in the world. So the fact that you are sponsoring this program is a real godsend for people who are on a spiritual path or an awakening path. Let's put it that way.
Well, I think we all need to give back. I have my favorite charities that are local because I believe that we need to start at home in our own communities and help there where we can. But this is my tithe back to the universe. So I'm happy I'm able to do it. So
well, you're doing a good job, okay?
Well, thank you. Here we've got our Mutual Admiration Society going.
All right, now we can talk about dreams, huh?
Okay, yes. And also we're wishing Pat a happy birthday early because it's just a week away.
Oh,
okay.
Right, yes.
Yes, it's soon. Okay, so our topic today is dreams. So does everybody dream? Because some people would swear that they don't dream. And does everybody dream in color or some in black and white? Talk to us about dreams.
All right. Dreams are really a gift, and no one would think about that, I don't think. They just haven't connected the dots there. Our body has a process that it goes through every night, and it's for those that can sleep 8 hours, an 8-hour process. For those that need 9 hours, it's a 9-hour process. And in this process, the basic thing that the body does is to repair itself and to rejuvenate the body so that when you get out of bed the next day, you can face it, with a clean slate here and hopefully do better. But while that processing and repairing and rejuvenating is going on, the brain is absolutely going 9,000 miles an hour, and it is taking everything that it needs for future reference and filing it, and any frivolous mess it does not need, like the conversation at the grocery store with the cashier, and it's throwing it out, and it's also processing things that are repeated patterns so that you can recall those at a later date. So when the body is through doing the physical processing, then the dreams occur. And the dreams are very vital. They have proven in the sleep centers that if you do not get to have the dream time that we're going to talk about in just a minute, then some people in the sleep centers, they let you sleep, but when you start the dream, they interrupt you and won't let you have the dream. And people just are so sluggish and draggy, and some of them just said, no, I'm not coming back the third night. This is awful. I'm almost psychotic. I'm so nervous and all of that. So they pretty much decided with research that the dream state is absolutely necessary. So let's talk about how this happens and what happens. While we are getting ready to go to bed, we are in what they call the beta state. And in the beta state, our brain is just active. It's working at 12 to 14 cycles per second. So we're brushing our teeth and we're making our to-do list, and we go get in the bed and we set the clock and we cut out the lights, and we sort of try to relax. Sometimes we're tired and boom, we go right to sleep, and sometimes we toss and turn, and sometimes it takes a little while. But at some point, the body gives up, and we start slowly drifting down into what they call a state of drowsiness. And so at that point, the blood pressure goes down, the breath spaces out, and now we are just working at about 8 cycles per second. Not too long after that, when the body is really relaxing and moving from the light sleep, we go to theta, which drops way down to 4 to 7 cycles per second. And very quickly after that, we enter delta, which is 0.5 to 3.5 cycles a second. And that is the deep sleep. And there we stay while the body is repairing the organs and repairing our sensory things that, we have seen during the day. I was in the eye doctor the other day, and you know how they have these electronic things on the wall now, and it says the 5 steps of problems with your eyes and how to avoid a common cold. And they were talking about the eyes, and they said the average person sees 100,000 sensory sights a day. And I thought, dear God, I mean, the brain, what an amazing cycling center that is to throw out that stuff. So the things it doesn't need sometimes come out through the dream state. And then the things it wants to warn you about will come out as a dream. And then sometimes we'll talk about the types of dreams, I hope, because everybody has some of the same ones. So you go for a cycle of 90 minutes from the time you put your head on the pillow to the time you are at the end of the 90-minute cycle. And all of a sudden, what the dream centers have found, when these people volunteer to come and spend the night there so they can get their research on when the dreaming occurs and how the brain acts during the night, they hook them up to an electroencephalograph machine called an EEG. And you've seen them on TV. They take these wires and attach them, to your brain. So the whole time they've just been measuring, cycles per second on their machines. But then when the dream occurs, so at the end of the cycle, then you go back up from delta, back to theta, and when you hit alpha, you get your dream. Now, the way they know that you're dreaming is called rapid eye movement, or REM sleep. So you are asleep, okay? But you're in a much lighter sleep than that deep sleep for body repair. The average dream, they say, can run, depending on, everybody's different, from 5 minutes to 20 minutes. And just as soon as the rapid eye movement starts, you repeat the cycle. You go back down to theta and you repeat that 90-minute cycle. There are 4 90-minute cycles during the night. So when you talk about, does everybody dream? The answer, I think, must be yes, because of the sleep studies. And these studies are all over the world. It's not just in one little center in Atlanta, Georgia or something. They're all over the world, and they all pretty much say the same thing. So does everybody dream? Yes. I think your brain cannot hold all that superfluous information that it picks up all day long.
What you've said that surprises me is how long a dream lasts. I always thought it was like less than a minute.
Well, the research says anywhere from 5 to 20. Now, the one thing
Amazing.
They did tell me, Sharon, I could never find is, what's the difference? Why can some people have what they need in 5 minutes? And, well, I can offer a little light on that when we talk about the types of dreams, okay? All right, so the rapid eye movement tells them how long the dream is going on. And then, of course, like I said, we have the 4 cycles. Now, the interesting thing is the dreams that people do remember are the ones that occur in the 4th cycle just before they awaken. So they know we dream 4 times, but the one that is carried over into conscious memory the next morning is usually the one that we just had in that final cycle. where we went from the deep sleep, boom, back up into the alpha state, getting ready for the alarm to go off, and for us to get up and start the next day.
Unless probably, I would think that after you had one of those dream cycles, that you needed to get up and empty the bladder, and then that might be easier than to remember.
Oh, well, you might think that way. The sad fact is that you should probably not try to drink too much before you go to bed, because if your feet hit the floor, you have lost about 60% of the dream, and you can't come back and keep it started over.
Okay, so when I was coming up with namology science, I did a lot of dreaming where I felt like Spirit was communicating with me during that time and asking questions. Like, have you thought about this? Have you considered this? Whatever. So I kept a tape recorder by my bed, so that, because I realized that if I took notes, because I had a pad and pencil, I couldn't read them in the morning. So I switched to a tape recorder, and when I would get one of those, I would literally start talking what was coming into my head into the tape recorder, because I could understand that in the morning.
That was much smarter than what I was going to suggest to people. Much smarter. So we'll combine those two, okay? Before we leave today, I do want to tell people how they can start paying attention to their dreams, that kind of thing.
Oh, tell us now. Curiosity's up.
Okay.
Oh, no, we have to go to commercial first. Tell us right after we come back. Okay, everybody, Stay tuned, and we'll come back to hear how can we remember our dreams and about the type of dreams. Be right back.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
I'm Kathy Williams, host of Sexy Mom Abundant Life radio show on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. On the show, we explore living abundantly in every area of your life. Ways to let go of limiting patterns and beliefs and to step into the flow of creativity and possibility, knowing you are supported by the universe.
Pat Robertson Rice is a magnificent spiritual counselor. She can help you to recognize your gifts and talents. How do you identify who you are created to be? Are you an artisan, an inventor, a manager, or something else? How do you identify your innate abilities when they are different from your family's, or from our educational system, or from the industries popular in your community? How do you identify talents that are hidden, yet completely innate and natural to you? Contact Pat Robertson Rice at spiritualbeginnings101.com for an illuminating journey about your life path.
These are the sounds of a dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
Welcome back to Luminescence, Common Sense Spirituality. You are with Sharon Lynn Wyeth, and our special guest today is Pat Robertson Rice, who can be reached through her website, Spiritual Beginning, and then it's Spiritual Beginnings with an S, and then 101 or 101.com. Okay, Pat, we all want to know how to remember our dreams and then go right into the type of dreams that people have.
So first of all, we're going to have to talk about what interferes with the dreaming if you want to be serious about it and, catch your dreams and check them. And most people would not think about this, but there are 5 things that will interfere. One is if you are taking over-the-counter sleeping pills, it will not help you. So my suggestion is, if you're going to devote to a month to experimenting with this, that on the nights that you are planning to try to capture your dream, and I'll tell you about that in a second, that you not take these over-the-counter sleeping pills. Also, a lot of people get interfered when they come home and have several drinks before they try to go to bed. And I'm not speaking of, sun drops. I'm talking about alcoholic drinks. And so that's another no-no if this is a night that you're going to try to capture your dream. Other people use recreational drugs, and that is also a no-no for helping you to use the dream state for the purpose it's intended. And they even talk about some prescription drugs are not good, if you're trying to work on your dreams. If you're trying to remember them, you're going to have the dreams. It's just the remembering. And I used to have tremendous sinus problems, and I was always using antihistamines or something. And I found out later that they are also a big inhibitor if you are trying to, utilize the dream state for information. So before Sharon came up with that fabulous idea about the tape recorder, which I'd never thought of, when I've been teaching this class, I've always told my students, and we've been, pretty successful with this, that they needed to, number one, go on Amazon and buy themselves what is called a dream dictionary. You're not going to be able to analyze them without some help. And a dream dictionary is just like Webster's dictionary, and when it starts with the word apple, it tells you if you saw an apple in your dream, this is probably what it means. And so you're going to need some type of reference book, and they're not expensive, and they're easy to find. Then I recommend that you get a flashlight, and this is what you keep on your bedside table. A flashlight, because if you turn the light on, you're going to disturb your senses even more. And that you have pen and I'm going to ask that you buy a journal that you don't put anything else in, not your grocery list and your laundry list. That is not it. It's in the bedside table, so the night you're going to try to capture a dream, you pull the journal out. You always have 2 pens. One's not going to write, and you get your little flashlight set up there. So it's important, number one, I'm trying to tell you, to prepare. You don't just wait for a dream to happen and then say, oh, my God, where's my paper? Where's my pen? Oh, I need to write this down. Because time you go through all that excitement, you're losing what the dream was trying to tell you. So number one, get prepared. Have a journal, not 1,000 pieces of paper going to fall on the floor, a little journal. Have your paper and pen. Have your flashlight. Now, I'm going to, if Sharon doesn't matter, from now on, tell them to put a tape recorder there.
Us lazy people do it that way.
I never thought about that. And that's so ingenious there. So I'm going to maybe revamp what I tell people in the classes. But if you don't mind, Sharon, I'll give you credit that you said it, okay?
You don't need to give me credit?
Yeah, I'll give you credit. This came from you. All right, now the next thing is that you don't do this every single night. That's not fair. We have really busy lives, so you kind of prepare. And on the day, you've got to be up at 5 o'clock and get on the train at 6 and be in the office by 8. The weeknights are probably not a good time. So the best thing to do is to say, okay, I think Saturdays are not that bad, or Sunday mornings aren't that bad, or maybe you might say, I don't know, whatever's easier for you. But you make an intention. You don't just, you pick a date and then you try. Now, if you don't work and you don't have to be out of that bed at 5 in the morning, you can go 3 days in a row, and ask to have a dream. But the main thing you have to remember is you have to set the intention. All of you, Every single person out there has guides and angels that are constantly flying around trying to help you. And so the important thing is to ask for help. So you get your little dream journal and you say it into your tape recorder, whatever you're doing, and you say these magical words. It is my intent. If you state an intent, they pay attention. If you just say, well, I think I might like to have a dream tonight, well, they're not going to listen to you. You don't even know what you want to do. So it's my intent, 2 things you say, to have an important dream for my highest and best tonight, and to remember that dream. Don't forget to say that. And to remember that dream. So preparation is the biggest thing. Pick your nights. Don't try to do it with company in the house. I mean, come on, let's have some common sense. If you're going to make an honest try at this, then be prepared. Now, the other thing I want to mention to you is that it is not necessary. Let's say, now Sharon was getting comments and things like that. That's very different from when you're lying there and you're watching a scenario play out. She was doing interchange. I wish all of us had that kind of connection. That's fabulous, but most of us don't. We just see the picture go by. So it's not that you get out of bed, like I told Sharon, if your feet touch the floor, 60% is gone. Every book will tell you that. So it's important that you cut that tape recorder on and start talking, or you grab that flashlight and start writing there. But you don't write out the dream. That's not the point. You don't have time to sit there trying to write out a dream because you're getting more and more and more awake. So what you do are write the major symbols. Okay, there was a giraffe, there was a jeep, there were 3 men with rifles, and I saw a lady standing there with a small child. And you write those symbols down, giraffe, jeep, 3 men, lady, child, and you go back to bed. That's it. End of the discussion. So then when you wake up and the next day you say, get your journal again, and you say, now, I got my symbols. I remember the dream because I've got these things that are prompting me. What was it about that giraffe? And so you kind of write out, the giraffe came running toward me. I think it had broken loose from a zoo or something. It was very upset and dodging back and forth. And, so you try to go back and do PowerPoint, just little dots about the giraffe. What do you remember about the giraffe? What do you remember about the men? And then you open your dictionary to giraffe. And they'll say, okay, if you dream of a giraffe, it's always about, I'll make this up, looking up higher for direction, because of his long neck. I don't know what giraffe
or
means.
sticking your neck out.
Huh?
Sticking your neck out into somebody else's business. Go ahead.
Yeah. You're sticking your neck out. Lots of times our old phrases and idiomatic expressions like that have a lot of truth in them. So then you go to Jeep. Now, anytime you dream of a vehicle, it's usually something about your body in some way. So you kind of just look up. And a vehicle usually means sometimes start a trip or something like that. The fact that it was 3 men, you should look at that number. The fact that there were 3 men and not 1, you should pay attention to that. 3 has a symbolic meaning. And the fact that they were men and not women, because the woman came later with the child. So the fact that it was a woman and a child would mean something entirely different than the fact that there were 3 men. You look up these things, and then you write down sort of what it means about the giraffe, and you write down sort of what it means about this and that. And then if you've got a good friend you're trying to experiment with, you all can compare. You'd say, well, this was my dream, and you'd say, well, so-and-so, and that. It's a lot of fun if you have somebody to share with because they may interpret, what something means in an entirely different way. So the number key thing we want to say here is to be prepared. You don't just go in one night and flop into bed and say, well, I hope I have a dream tonight. That's just not the way. You need to be proactive about things that you want. Now, Sharon, do you want to add something else to that since you have the tape recorder that I'm going to start talking about too?
Yeah, I want to know really, very systematically what kinds of dreams that people have, if you're saying that they all kind of fit into the same group of categories.
Yeah, they do. But we're going to talk about why you have them too, because that'll help people, okay? The absolute, now, if anytime you go on the internet, they'll say the 10 most common dreams, but the sleep centers put that out too. And everybody in the world that's listened to this has had this dream, and we don't know why we didn't kind of know why we have it, but it's so common. And this dream, number one, is being chased by somebody, and you're scared to death. We rarely ever see the somebody. We just are running, and we're hiding, and we hear a noise, so we get up and we run, or we climb, or we jump. Now, the average book that you read when you read this research will tell you that being chased by something or someone is letting go of all of those fearful things that happened during the day, anything that scared us, lots of times the scaring comes from a movie we watched, or it can come from a TV show that had a real thriller or something like that. It is the most common one, and probably because the brain is processing a lot of that garbage if you look at a lot of TV.
I read somewhere that for the last hour before you go to bed, that the worst thing you can do is be watching television because that'll affect your dreams.
I have read that many times. Yeah, many, many times. Do not watch anything violent or fear-inducing or, like people arguing on TV, like a talk show or something. That is not going to produce a good night's sleep. Now, I think everybody said, oh, yeah, I've had that one. Well, the second one that is probably the most common is just waking up and you say, oh, my God, and you look at the clock and you say, I missed my exam, or I missed my appointment, or, oh, my God, I forgot about my job interview. That is amazingly common, that we wake up in a panic because we have forgotten something. And it's reverse psychology here, in a way, because what the dream is trying to tell you is that you better pay attention, something is coming up.
Okay.
It hasn't already happened. It's like pre-warning you to pay attention that something is coming up that you don't want to miss. So that's how they explain that one. And then, I don't know, not everybody says they've had this one, but it's listed as the third most common one, and that is flying. You know that you are in the air and you are flying over a forest, or you're flying over an ocean, or you're flying over some type of expanse, and you're high enough in the air that you can see these things at an elevated height. Some of the books say that is when you have had an out-of-body experience, that your soul body has gone out that night, and that what you're seeing is yourself coming back in to the physical body, the soul body coming back in. Now
in Richard Bach's books, Jonathan Livingston Seagull and his series of books that started with that one, he says that if you ask yourself to dream of flying and promote that as you're going to bed, that's actually when you can consciously leave your body easier and remember what occurred. But anyway, keep going.
Well, I have always wanted to have an experience like that, like they show in the movies, the soul is up above the table and they're trying to, put the defibrillators on you, that kind of stuff. But to my knowledge, I've never had one. Have you?
Yes.
Oh, well.
Yes, I have.
Tell us about it.
Well, it started when I had an operation and had my appendix out when I was either 13 or 14. It was the summer between 8th and ninth grade.
Uh-huh.
And after that, it was very frequent when I would go.
Wow.
And then that was just reinforced when I learned how to do the Monroe Institute meditations.
Can you do it at will?
Yes, if I'm meditating.
Oh, meditating, not asleep, right?
Well, I sometimes do it at while I'm sleeping, but I don't think it's at will. But I can do it at will when I'm meditating.
Oh, wow. Well, that's a nice gift. Okay, so then we go to the next one that I think everybody can identify with. And there's an old wives' tale that goes, it must be so common, there's an old wives' tale. And this is where you are somewhere. So let's say you might be on a cliff or you might be up on a mountain or something. And all of a sudden, you feel yourself slip and fall. And you're just scared to death. You're just screaming and screaming and screaming because you're falling and falling and falling. And they say, don't ever let, the old wives' tale says, well, in the dream, if you see yourself hit the bottom, you're going to die.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one.
Everybody, when in classes, they'll say, oh, Miss Pat, I've heard that one a lot of times. Well, nobody has ever told me what the symbolic meaning of that is. I guess it's kind of up for grabs that maybe you better pay attention that something you're playing around with is pretty dangerous and you might take a bad fall from it. Common sense would say it would be something like that. But I've always just heard the old wives' tale about, oh, be glad you didn't fall, see the bottom because you'd be dead, that kind of thing. The other one...
And we're going to save your spot because we want to hear the rest of these, but it's one of those commercial breaks again, so stay tuned,
yes,
everybody.
Ma'am.
We'll be right back.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Mark Twain said the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. The why is hidden in your name. Sharon Lynn Wyeth has created a scientific way of deciphering your name to reveal your contract for this lifetime. And your name even specifies the 7 areas that are subsets of your soul's overall goal. Your name identifies who you are to both yourself and others. What does your name say about you? Contact Sharon Lynn Wyeth at info@knowthename.com for your stunning name review.
The United States has the highest rate of incarceration in the world. At the Equal Justice Initiative, we believe mass incarceration has to end. There is this presumption of dangerousness and guilt that gets assigned to Black and brown people. We have to confront our history of racial injustice and commit to a new era of truth. There's something better waiting for us, something that feels more like freedom. Truth can inspire change. Please learn more at EJI.org.
Welcome back to Luminescence, Common Sense Spirituality, and you are with Sharon Lynn Wyeth, and our special guest today is Pat Robertson Rice. We're talking about dreams and going through the different types of dreams. So, Pat, please continue. We've gotten some of them down and willing to hear the rest.
All righty. So the next one that's listed on the most common dreams that people talk about are nightmares. Now, I think children, because of the stories that are read to them, at night before they go to bed, or the concepts of they see so many things. I forget how many hours a day children spend, online or watching movies or something. It's a phenomenal amount. Sometimes I think there are nightmares that children go through. But in some of my classes, people have talked about nightmares. And the distinction that's made is that if it wakes you up, you can call it a nightmare. If you only remember it the next day, but you don't wake up in the middle of it, then it's just simply called a bad dream. Now, isn't that interesting? But they do say that if you, talking about adults now, not children, but because children have nightmares so commonly is what I'm talking about. But if you are an adult and you continue to have this nightmare to the point that you're losing sleep and it's making you depressed, that you probably need to go and get some help, because that is not common to have them invade your life for long periods of time. But I don't have, it's just fearful things that cause this. Then we get to the really interesting dreams, and they just categorize them. There are so many different ways to have it, but they just categorize them as ESP type of dreams or precognitive type of dreams. And these are a dream where you're someone that you know that is vitally alive on the planet, and all of a sudden in your dream you see you're at this funeral and you go to the casket and there's the person that you know that is alive, of course, in this lifetime, at this moment in time. And so you come out from that dream and you say, oh my God, is so-and-so going to die? Well, not necessarily. So let's look at the other scenario. Or in the dream, you see someone being hurt, like they have a car wreck or they fall or they get in a fight with somebody. And does that mean that that person is going to be attacked or harmed by a car? Not necessarily. So what they ask you to do in this research is to think about, are they telling you, let's take the case of the person who dies, there. If it were true that this person was very ill, if that were true, what would you like to do or say to that person before that person died?
Oh.
So maybe the dream is telling you that you need to spend more time with that person, and you need to get the wisdom that you need to get from that person or the love from that person now, and not wait and cry about it a year later. So a lot of researchers have just offered the fact that we're all going to die, and we don't all know the appointed day and time. And so if there's someone that you love a lot, then you might need to be proactive and go and spend some time with them. The other dream that I gave you an example of someone being hurt in a car accident or something, they say that sometimes that is indicative that the person is doing something that is dangerous, and they're not telling anybody else. So if you looked more closely in the dream and you saw that the person was texting, and this is why he was involved in an accident, then that person that, when you have a dream like that, this may be your son, or this may be your nephew, or this may be your brother, and nobody knows they're doing something stupid like that. And so sometimes it would be a good conversation ahead of time to say, you know what, North Carolina has passed a law that if you're caught texting, it's a $250 fine. And they say, what? And you say, oh, yeah, so that's probably not a good idea for you. Sometimes the dream is giving you what I would call inside information. It doesn't mean the person's going to have a wreck tomorrow, but it's just sort of telling you that that might be a conversation you might need to have, or check and ask them if they, if their tires are okay, if they've had the motor looked at. It may just be something that's proactive again, which is how you should run your life anyway. Then another way that a dream can be very, I think, very advantageous for you is if you have a dream that has a secret in it. And so many of us, when we have secrets and we're talking about things we don't want anybody to know we're doing, like we are taking money or we are pregnant and that's not a good thing, we're not married or what have you, and we are doing drugs, okay? So many times you will have a dream about someone who is doing the secret, okay? So you're the person that has the secret. And in that dream, you see yourself go over to your mother's house. And you start a conversation. You hear the conversation. It starts off just real simple. And then somewhere in the conversation, you say, if I knew something about someone, do you think I should tell them? And your mother says, well, yes, honesty is always the best policy. And you say, but what if that secret might make them upset? And the mother says in the dream, well, I think it would be better to be upset in the moment than for the person to be harmed through this secret or whatever. And so then in the dream, the girl says, Mother, there's something I really need to tell you. I'm pregnant. So they're saying that the dreams, when they occur, are giving you a play-by-play show of how you can reveal that secret, because most people wouldn't know how to broach that subject without blurting it out and starting crying. So they say sometimes the brain is giving you scenarios of how to go into whatever it is painful that you have to talk to another person about. So you know that your son is doing drugs. You found the paraphernalia in his room or whatever. And so the brain gives you a dream that night as a gift, and they show you in that dream you're confronting the son, telling him the facts, this is what we're going to do about it, and blah, blah, blah. So sometimes you can't categorize the dream, except it's just an emotional, they call it an emotional dream that gives you an answer. Does that make sense, Sharon?
It does. You know what kind that when I check in and tune in to my grandchildren when they're sleeping, because they're all younger than 7, I think they're having a very busy evening, and especially how sometimes they toss or turn or get a look on their face like they're in the middle of conversation. I think they're still talking with their guides and with loved ones that are not physically present with them.
Well, they have that type of dream also. They do say that when you dream of a person on the other side, and you're sitting in the field talking to them, or they're just patting you on the back or kissing you, that you're really visiting with that person.
Well, I think our young kids, before they're 7 or, up until that age, are very active on the other side. And, this always goes so fast with you, Pat. Is there like a last 1-minute thing that you'd like to convey about dreams to everybody as we're running out of time?
Yes. What I would really like to say is you have a gift that you have not opened if you have never delved into this. And it's not that hard. You just pick a month that you want to try to have this experience, and have some dreams and see if you can figure out what they mean. It's not that hard. And why would you leave a gift unopened? It doesn't cost anything, but you just have to know not to take certain drugs, the night you're going to do this, and you have to know to be prepared, like Sharon was talking about. She got to the point she used the tape recorder. I'm still on paper and pencil, so I'm back in the Stone Age.
I'm just lazier, Pat.
Well, I've been in there a long time. But anyway, my point is, what have you got to lose? This is a gift from God. I mean, this is a gift from your soul. This is a gift. Oh, Sharon, we forgot to say about the spiritual dreams. How much time have we got?
You have 1 minute max.
Okay. You have two brains, the subconscious brain and the superconscious. The visions from God and the spiritual dreams from God that have great significance in your life, you'll usually have one. If you're lucky, you'll have two, come from the superconscious, which means it comes from way past what we have on this planet. And in that dream, you will be visited by God or by an ascended master, an angel, what have you, and you will never, ever forget what was said. You will never forget the colors in it. You will never forget how it played out. You can tell it 20 years later with the exact detail. So how do you know it's not time for you to have some really wonderful dream like that? So go ahead and try it, but try it a month and try it 4 times during that month. Don't just try it one time and give up or think you can't do it.
Well,
okay,
I think
Sharon,
if you write down your dreams all the time, you're wonderful, Pat. I think if you write down your dreams every night for a month, you will see that there's a huge message as they're building on it, where one dream by itself may not make sense, but as you see it grow over a month, it makes a big picture. If you would like to have a session with Pat Robertson Rice, you can reach her through her website, Spiritual Beginnings 101. Again, that's a plural, spiritualbeginnings101.com. Pat, we love having you on the show. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Sharon.
Next week, I have Dr. Gabriel Cousins that's going to be on the show. He is an incredibly well-known, well-versed author of multiple books, known internationally, in great demand. I made this reservation for him to come on our show 6 months ago to make sure I could get him on the show, just to let you know how popular he is and in demand. So I'm really looking forward also to next week's show. Again, you can hear me later tonight on Executive Shine at 4 o'clock on Pacific time and 7 o'clock on Eastern time on bbsradio.com. And tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific time, 1 o'clock in the Eastern time on Nancy Yearout's High Road to Humanity show. Looking forward to both of those. Please stay in touch. If you have questions, give us a holler. Thank you again for listening. And we always end our show with the music, The Shine.
So long ago, gazing in the mirror, an image of an angel smiling back at her. No wounds or imperfections, just beauty and its glow. Her laughter and her heart, a reflection of her soul. And I want to shine like the sun and smile to stop the rain. And I want to dance with the wind and believe again. When the paintbrush of life stroke the canvas of her, the light slightly dimmed, her reflection unseen, and all that she knew, and all that would be, it vanished like the sun rays on a shimmer